Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, this lecture we're going to be looking at is default routing. What is a default route? Let's say you just have one router at work. You have one location for your organization. Take a look. I'm going to get myself a 1940 router, as an actual switch, all right? But let me just get a few computers over here. So let's say a few laptops. One, two, three, four. Let me make the actual connections here. So if I go ahead and let's say put cables straight through cables, of course, from the laptop to the switch. So let me just connect these. And then the switch connects to the actual router. So we're assuming we only have one location for the company. And let's say gigabit 00 goes to the switch. And at the same time, I do have internet access. So I'm going to get myself an actual cloud, just like this. And I'm going to get myself a cable that connects to the wall from gigabit 01, let's say to an Ethernet port onto the wall. So this is my main router right over here. And this connects to where? My ISP. So if I ask myself, how many broadcast domains do I have? I have two. One, two. How many collision domains? One, two, three, four, five, six. All right. So most likely, this side over here will be like a private network, 100.0/24. And this is a public IP address, which means I'm getting this number from the ISP. Let's say 210.210.210.0 slash what? 30. Remember in subnetting, it's a slash 30. So it's a point to point connection. So I only have two numbers, one host on one side and another host on the ISP side. I and the ISP will be actually on the same network. Let me go to the router and do the actual configuration. So the first thing I want to do is I like to change the host name to router one. And then I want to go to interface gigabit 0/0 and give this an IP address as 192.168.100.254 space the default mask. And of course, I'm going to do a no shut on the interface. Then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0/1, do a no shut, right? And what IP address? 210.210.210.1 space, what's the mask? 252, right? Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and exit. And let's say I want to make my router as a DHCP server. So IP DHCP exclude address. I'm going to be excluding 100.254. And then I'm going to create an actual pool, which is 100. And here's the actual network, which is 100.0. Space the mask, the entire network. Let's say default router, which is the default gateway, is 100.254. And let's say DNS server, I'm using Google's DNS. All right. And let me save my configuration and look at my actual configuration. So look at this. I do have the exclusion. Here's the actual interfaces. This connects to my internal network. This connects to the external. Let's say you want to put a description. All right, watch this. Interface gigabit 00. I'm going to say description. I'm going to say connects to my LAN. And then I'm going to go to gigabit 01 and say description connects to what? To the, let's say, WAN. This connects to the outside. So if I save my configuration and look at my configuration, I could see more information that this connects to my internal, this connects to the external. Okay, let me make sure these machines get an IP address from the DHCP server. Let's say we have a simple setup like this. DHCP, right? DHCP just like this. And this one is also DHCP obtaining an IP address automatically from the DHCP server. So now, look, I have an IP here 100.1, 100.2, 100.3, 100.4. And look at the gateway in DNS. This looks perfect. If I go to my router, right, and I do show IP, DHCP binding, I can see all the numbers that I got. If I want to look at my routing table, like which networks can I talk to, through IP route, let's say connected. I support the internal and I support the external. So my clients can actually connect to where? They can connect from here, they could reach here. But look at this. I want my clients to get online, which is with the ISP, right? With my service provider. And this is the Ethernet, right? And let's say DSL or what? Or Cable. That's what I have. So this is my actual ISP. I mean, there are serial interfaces, but the one that I'm using, let's say, is DSL or cable. Now, one thing to actually understand is I'm assuming that this IP address also 210.210.210.2. How can my clients connect to the internet through the ISP to gain access to the World Wide Web? And let's say you have a simple connection like this. Guess what? You just need something called a default route. What is a default route? Which means no matter what type of addresses the clients are trying to connect to from the local area network, they're going to be going through this interface to get online. So if you don't have a default route, I don't care if you did not, these clients will never get online. So this ISP router has to have a what? Default route. So this is the ISP router has to have a default route to the internet. So what I do is I do the following. If I do show IP route, just in general, I can see what I connect to. Look what it says. Gateway of last resort is not set. How do I set up a default route? I have to go to global configuration mode, IP route, and let's ask for help. What is the destination? I mean, I'm trying to connect to any address out there, so it's 0000. What is the actual mask? 0000. Okay, space through which IP address? Who's your forwarding address? Through which interface are you actually going through? Well, I'm actually leaving from here, and it's going to be this IP address, which is 210.210.210 dot what? Dot two. This is dot one. All right, so this is dot one. On the ISP side, it's dot two. So most likely the ISP configures this for you. Well, let's say you work on the service provider side. This is what you have to do. 210.210.2, just like this. And I press enter. So now what does this mean? Anybody on my local area network, if they want to get online, they have to go through this interface, which is the IP, so my ISP. And I and the ISP are always on the same network. What I could have done also, instead of putting the forwarder's address, which is my neighbor's address, which is the ISP, I could have specified from which interface I'm actually connecting from, which is in my case, what I could have done is this. Let me just show you. Let me Control Z and show IP route right now. And now look what I have. Gateway of last resort is this. To what network? To all the network. Through who? Through my ISP. And look, it says the letter S and asterisk, which is a default static route. So what I configured is a default static route, which means all the traffic that connects from my local area network is going to go through this interface to my neighbor's address. This is one way of doing so. You could actually do this. And now, if I check, all my clients will be able to get online to the outside world. So that's one thing to keep in mind. They can connect to the outside world. Now, watch this. What I could have done is the following too. So if I go back and I want to remove this route, let's say no IP route, and I say 00000000 space question mark, and I put the IP address of my neighbor, which is 210.210.210.2. I got rid of the default route. Okay, show IP route. Watch this. Now it's not there. What I could have done is the following too. I could have done IP route 0000 space the mask 000 space the interface that I'm actually traveling from, which is gigabit what? 0/1. So I could put either the neighbor's IP address or the interface that I'm going to be traveling from to reach the destination. So what I could have done also is gigabit 0/1, just like this. Look what it says. Default route without gateway. So it tells me if I try to do it this way, it may impact performance. That's why I showed you the first option. That's the first option that I did. So normally you would do it this way. So then you put 210, 210, 210 dot what? Dot two. No matter what interface you're traveling from, this is who you want to go through. And if I do to IP route, I can see the default route, gateway of last resort to any network. You see that? Directly. Look what it says. See, via this. See, that's the interface that I'm traveling from. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. Now, this I don't consider routing because this is something that is done by the ISP. itself is not something that you would do as a network engineer in a work environment. In our next lecture, we're going to assume that we have a company that has multiple locations, let's say 2 branches. How does that work for us? So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Warmly welcome back. It's Mo again. In this lecture, we're going to look at static routing. Watch this. I'm going to be opening a new Cisco package tracer file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a router that has more than one interface, which is the 2911. So I'm going to get two of these. Look at this. So I got two of these routers, and each one of them has three interfaces. So I'm going to call this, let's say, for example, this is New York. All right. So this is NY. And let's say this one is in California. So I have a company that has two locations. All right. So watch this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get two switches here. Here's one switch, and here's another switch, and two switches on this side. Watch this. And then I'm going to get some clients here. Let's say just one client here, one client here. Let's say a server here and a server right over here. I always press escape to get rid of this. There you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the actual connections. So from the laptop, I'm going to connect to the switch. From the laptop, I'm going to be connecting to the switch, and from the server to the switch, and from the server to the switch. And then the router itself, look at this, three interfaces. Gigabit zero 01 will connect to top switch, and gigabit zero 02 will connect to the bottom switch. So gigabit zero 01 to the top switch, and gigabit zero 02 to the bottom switch, just like this. And of course, what kind of cable do I connect router to router? A crossover cable. So gigabit zero 00 hooks up to gigabit zero 00. So if I count, how many broadcast domains do we have? We have one, we have two, three, four, five. How many collision domains? Five plus six, seven, eight, nine collision domains. So watch this. The number that is between New York and California is a public IP address. So this one is 210, let's say 210.210.0 slash 30. So I don't consume much numbers. And let's say this side is going to be 192.168, let's say 100.0 slash 24. And this side is a different network, 200.0 slash 24. And this side is the 10 network, 10.0 slash 24. Each one should be on a different network. And I got 20.0 slash what? 24. Just like this. See that? So the first thing I want to do is configure the actual IP addresses. So I'm going to go to New York. The first thing I like to do is just change the actual host name. So I know what the name of the router is, New York, and then interface gigabit 0 slash 1. This connects to switch 0. So I'm going to give it an IP address as 100.254. Space the default mask, and then no shut to make sure the interface is up. And there you go. It's switching. And then I'm going to go to gigabit zero 02, and this IP address is 200.254. And I'm going to do a no what shut. Then interface gigabit zero 00, no shut, and IP address is 210.210.1. Space, what's the mask? 252, right? 252. I'm just putting IPs right now. I am not doing routing, folks. And I'm going to do WR. All right. This is good. This is New York router. Now I go to California router, CLI, and watch this. So I'm not using the setup mode, global configuration mode. Host name is CA. Interface gigabit 0 slash 1. That connects to switch 2, as you see. So if I do IP address, this will be what? 10.254. Space the default mask. And I'm going to do a no shut on the interface. And there you go. It's going up. And gigabit 0 slash 2. The IP address is what, folks? 20. I always tend to use the last available number. And I'm going to do a no shut. And there you go. It's going up. And then interface, gigabit 0 slash 0. IP address is what? This is the public IP that I get from my service provider, which is dot two, 255, 255.252. And I do a no shut. So now the interface is what? Up and running. So if I look at my routing table, show IP route, we'll take a look and see what's going on here. I support the 10 network, the 20, and the 210. See that? Let me just save my configuration. I only see these networks. And if I go to New York router, let's see, show IP route. Look on my routing table, and I can see the 100, the 200, and the 210. So the 210 is the one that is shared between both sides, but New York only supports the 100 and the 200 network. I could have done this command, show IP route connected, and I could see what I'm physically connected to, the 100, the 200, and the 210. Same thing. Could have went to California and did show IP route connected. And now I could see I support the 10, the 20, and the 210. So I'm physically connected to these actual networks, as you see. All right. Problem that I have, New York router has no clue about the 10 and the 20 networks. California router has no clue about the 100 and the 200. Guess what? Let me go ahead and give this an IP address. Let's say 192.168.100.100. What is the default gateway? The IP address of the router, which is 100.254. And this one 200.100. So this one is 200.100, right? So this is 200.100. And the gateway is what? 200.254. I'm going to close and close this. And this one will be, let's say, 10.100. Watch this, 10.100. And the gateway is what? 10.254. And this one is going to be 20.100, right? So this one is 20.100. And the default gateway is what? 20.254. There we go. So remember, the gateway is the IP address of the router that you're actually connected through. You see that? Okay, so I want to test connectivity without routing, and we'll be talking more and more about routing. Let's say the following. If I put envelope here and envelope here, the first packet may fail, but if I try again, it's going to pass. What is the IP address of this laptop? 200.100. Okay, command prompt, I could say ping 200.100, and I could reach. Okay, but if I do a tracer, Gracert 192.168.200.100. Oh, it's going through 100.254, which is this interface, then it's reaching the destination. So this laptop is going through the router and it's reaching over here because I have a default gateway. If I don't put a gateway, I won't be able to reach from here to here. This server should be able to reach this server. Why? This router supports the 10 and the 20. And this one is on the 10 network, so it should be able to reach the 20 network. So if I try, let's say, what's the IP address of this server? 20.100, command prompt, and let's say 20.100. 192.168.20.100. The first packet will be lost, but then everything will work smooth. Watch this. So look at this. I'm getting an actual reply right now. This looks good. So pingin is actually working. If I try to trace, let's say tracer 192.168.20.100. Look at this. I'm going through 10.254, then I'm reaching what? 20.100. So I'm going through this interface, but I'm reaching here, just like what happened from here to here. But this router, who can this router talk to? Well, this router can talk to the 100 network, the 200 network, and the 210. This router cannot reach these networks. This router has no clue about these networks. In other words, here is the server, 10.100. If I try to ping with a negative T, 10.100, it's going to fail. Unreachable. It's like, hello, it's not request timeout. I have no clue where the network is. That's what it's telling me right now. You know why? Look, if I go to New York and I want to see which networks can New York connect to, show IP route connected, 100, 200, which means if I try to do it in Cisco, it's not called tracer, it's called trace route. And I say, let's say 100.100, I'm reaching it. Let's say 200.100, my other clients, I could actually reach it. Let's say I'm trying to trace to which number here. Let's say 210, 210, 210.2, right? Tracing to 210, 210, 210.2. Try this, works. Okay, how about if I try to trace route to which network? Watch this. Look what I want to show you. I'm trying to trace from here to, let's say, this interface, which is 10.254. So I'm going to put 10.254. Look at this. Trace route to 10.254. It's going to fail because New York router has no clue about the 10 network. It only knows about the 100 and the 200 and the 210, whatever it's physically connected to. Now, if you just stare at the screen, it's going to take over a minute to stop. So what you can do is Control Shift 6. Control Shift and the number 6 will actually stop this. Okay, so now we know what's up. I know that New York needs to connect to the 10 and to the 20. California needs to connect to the 100 and the 200. That's where static routing kicks in. So first, we're talking about static routing, which means I have to add all the networks in manually. Okay, what does that mean when I say manually? Okay, watch this. What is this IP? This is 210.210.210 dot what? Dot one. The neighbor is what? Dot two. Let's remember this. This is important. Your neighbor is dot two. Okay, very good. I go to New York. Okay, very good. So let me stay in New York for now. And watch this. I'm trying to add which networks? The 10 and the 20. So static routing, you have to add the routes in manually. Dynamic routing is the opposite. We'll be talking about that. How can you tell if you're running dynamic routing or not? You do show IP, what? Protocols. I see nothing, which means dynamic routing is not running on my network. Okay, so watch this. Efficti, IP route, space question mark. What network am I trying to reach? I'm trying to reach the 10 network. So I put it in manually. Space. What is the mask? 255, 255, 255.0. Space, question mark. Remember, forwardings router. What is your neighbor's IP? Which is what is the IP address of this interface? California's gigabit 00. And that's what? 210, 210, dot 210, dot what? Dot 2. There you go. Hit the up arrow. When I do the same thing, I'm going to be adding which network? The 20. I'm done. I'm configuring static routing, WR. This is very good. So if I do show IP route right now, very interesting. I see the letter S. There you go. I can reach the 10 network via my neighbor, and I could reach the 20 network via my neighbor. We'll see what the number one is. This is the metric. It's actually called the administrative distance. All right. We'll talk about that. For now, just forget about it. If I do show run, and I could see my static routes in here, let me just do WR. Okay, very good. Beautiful work. Is this one able to connect? No. It's almost getting there. It's like, hello, I know what's up, but I'm still not getting a response from the other side. Request time out. So what I'm trying to prove is this. Well, what's the IP address of this machine? This one is 20.100. I go to this machine and I do tracert 20.100. And look, it's stopping at 100.254. This router has no clue about it. You know why? Because I did the configuration on this router. Now I have to go to California and add these routes in statically, just like the way I did in New York. Okay, so I'm going to go to California right now. Watch this, folks. Very simple. IP route space. Okay, 192.168.100.0 space. What is the mask? This is the mask. Okay, space. What is your neighbor's address? Well, my neighbor is this interface, and this one is 210.210.210.1. So 210.210.210.1. And I'm going to press enter. I'm going to hit the up arrow and do the same thing for which network? The 200 network. I'm done. Okay, WR and let me do show IP routes. Take a look. I see both static entries, the 100 and 200. They're missing on California. I add them in manually. Beautiful. Wow. Now it's pinging. I could read from one side to another. And also the laptop, if I try to trace, beautiful. Okay, you're going through 100.254, then you're going through the gigabit 00 of California's router, then you're reaching your destination. Every time you pass through a router, it's called a hop. So now let's say this is hosting a website, 20.100. I go back over here. Let me close this out. Open the web browser and put 20.100. Can I reach the other side of the world? Yes, you can. Watch this. And now I'm connecting to, so I'm actually accessing resources from here to where? to here. If I go back to New York and I say trace route, space 192.168.10.254, it tells me I could reach it. Remember before I was not able to? And 20.254, I could reach it. Via who? 210.210.210.2. This is static routing. This is just one example. What I'm showing you, we're going to be more and more examples, and you'll see what we'll be doing. Well, if you notice, it's not that difficult. The problem with static routing, you have to add all the entries in manually. It's the most secure way of routing, and I'll explain what I mean by that when we get to dynamic routing. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Well, everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. In this lecture, we're going to look at this company that has three actual locations. It's going to be a lot of fun. Watch this. Let me get myself a few routers. I'm going to still use the 2911. One, two, and three. And you'll see why I'm actually doing this type of setup. So we have three routers. Each one is in a different location. Let's say this one is in New York. And let's say this one is actually in Illinois, and this one is in California. And then I'm going to get a few switches. So here's some switches. One, two, and one, two. All right. And same thing over here. One switch here and one switch here. So let's make sure that the topology looks correct. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and get some client machines. Let's say we get a laptop over here and a laptop here, a laptop here, a laptop here. And let's say we get this time also a server here and a server here. Let me make the actual connections. So let's go ahead and connect. So this connects to the switch. This connects to the switch. And this one connects to the switch. And this one connects to the switch. Same thing, same thing. The servers will hook up to the switch straight through cable, all right? Different type of devices. The router, gigabit 0/1 will hook up right over here, and gigabit 02 will hook up right over here, right? Just like that. And same thing, if I go this side, gigabit 01 goes to this side, and gigabit 02 will go down over here. Then at the same time, I'm going to be hooking up an actual cable. Let's say, since this only has three interfaces, right? Look what's going to happen right now. So I would say gigabit 00. Let's say gigabit 00 will hook up to gigabit 00. And then let's say gigabit 01 will hook up to gigabit 00. And let's say this side, gigabit 02 will hook up right over here. Not a crossover cable, all right? A straight through cable right over here. And let's say, forget about this right over here. So I have this kind of setup. So if I count, how many broadcast domains do I have? Well, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. How many collision domains? Eight, nine, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let me put the actual networks in. So this side will be, let's say, 192.168.100.0/24. And this one will be 200.0/24. This side will be, let's say, 192.168.10.0/24. And this side will be 192.168.20.0/24. And let's say this side will be 192.168.30.0/24. So all these are private networks to the internal, as you see. Now I'm going to have the public, which is through the ISP. Let's say this one is 210, 210, 210. This time, let's say dot 4/30, and 211, 211, 211 dot, let's say 16/130, just like that. Okay, let's say we forgot about what interface is hooked up to what interface. Well, guess what? I could go to options, preferences, show port label, and I could see the actual interface. This is great. Okay, first of all, I want to go to New York, best city in the world. And let me go ahead to global configuration mode. Host name is NY, interface gigabit 0/1, and I'm going to put an IP address as 100.254. 255.255.255.0, and I'm going to do a no shut. There you go. Interface is up. Then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0/2, and IP address is 200.254. And of course, no shut. And then interface gigabit 0/0. IP address is 210.210.210. What? 5? So I have two possible numbers, 5 and 6. All right. 255, 2F5, 2F5 dot what? 252. So this looks good. The interface didn't go up because I never did a no cut on this interface. And I'm going to do WR. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to Illinois. This time we're actually on Illinois. Okay. CLI. I'm not going to use the setup mode. Global configuration mode. Host name is IL. And then interface gigabit 0, let's say slash what? 2, the one that hooks up to switch 4. No shut. It's up. Very good. IP address is 30 dot what? Dot 254 space the default mask. 255.255.0. Okay. And then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0/0. So this one got dot what? 5. This one will be dot 6. IP address is going to be 210.210.6 space the 252. And of course, no shut. Now the interface, this is gigabit 00. The interface did not actually change to up. Why? Let's go back to this router and see. Oh, I just put the IP. I didn't do no shut. So watch this. There you go. Troubleshooting. Do WR. Very good. Back over here. This is very good. Interface gigabit 0/1, which connects to which router? To California. We're configuring this interface. This will be dot 17. So this will be IP address 211. 211.211.17 space 255 255 255.252. Just like that. And of course, I should do a no shut before we forget and do WR. I'm done configuring Illinois. And now I'm going to go to California. So California, let me just change the host name. Global configuration mode. Host name is CA. Interface gigabit 0/1. This is 10.254. 192.168.10.254, 255, 2F5, 2F5.0, and no shut. Very good. And then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0/2 is what? 20.254. And I'm going to do no shut just like that. So this looks good, right? So I did no shut on all the interfaces. This is California. How about gigabit 0/0? All right. We didn't do gigabit 0/0. This is will be dot what? Remember, this side is 17. This side will be what? 18. Remember my subnetting videos? Just what you should have been watching before. So I'm going to do IP address 211.211.211.18 space the 252. Oops, 252. And of course, no shut. Now the interface is up, do WR, everything looks fine. I just put IPs. So let me go ahead and get rid of the interface so it's not a big mess. Get rid of the port labels. Everything is up and running. Okay, well, let me go back to this machine and give this an IP address. Let's say 100.100. 100.100, and the gateway is 100.254. And this one is going to be 200.100. So this one is 200.100, and the gateway is what? 200.254. This one will be 10.100. All right. So 10.100, and the gateway, which is the IP of the router, which is 10.254. I don't care about DNS at the moment. This one will be 20.100. So this one is 20.100, and the gateway is 20 dot what? 254. Just like that. This one will be 30.100. All right. So this one is 30.100. And the gateway will be what? 30.254. I'm just putting IPs right now. All right. Very good. What does this mean? What does networks this router supports? Let's go to New York and take a look. Show IP route. What am I connected to? The 100, the 200, and the 210, which means New York can only talk to these three networks at the moment. New York cannot talk to the 30, cannot talk to the 211, cannot talk to the 10 or the 20. It only can talk with whatever networks it's actually physically connected to. So, in other words, this laptop can talk to this laptop only. This laptop, just like our previous example, cannot reach this laptop, cannot reach these actual servers. If I go to New York and I say trace route, 192.168.30.254, which is who? This IP address, this interface right over here is going to say, I can't find it. Why? It doesn't support it. It's not in the routing table. Control Shift 6. So IP route in general. So I only see the 100, the 200, and the 210. I do not see any other networks at all. So this is one thing to know. I don't see any other networks. So this is a beautiful thing to understand. No other networks. Okay. Illinois supports the 210, the 211, and the 30. Illinois cannot talk to the 100 or the 200 or the 10 or the 20. So if I go to Illinois and I say, you know what, show IP route, who do I see? I just see the 30. I see the 210 and the 211. I'm missing the rest. And if I check California, who do I see? The ones I'm actually physically connected to show IP route. I only see the 10, I see the 20, and the 211. California is missing what? The 30, the 210, the 100, and the 200. Okay, watch this. I want to explain something here. Yes, we're doing static routing. There's static routing and there's default routing. I want to combine both and show you what happens in this case. First of all, what's the IP address of the system? 10.100. Let me open the command prompt and ping negative T 10.100 and see what happens. It's unreachable. See that? It's not reachable. We know it cannot reach there. Okay, I'm going to start with Illinois, and you'll see why. I'm going to go to Illinois, static routing, global configuration mode, and I'm going to do IP route space what? Illinois supports the 30, supports the 210. Let's focus on this side. I'm missing the 100 and the 200. So I'm going to put 192.168.100.0 space question mark the mask 255.255.5.0 space. If I'm adding the 100 network, which way do I travel? To the left or to the right? I'm traveling through the left. Okay, what's the IP address of this interface? It's 210.210.210.5. 210.210.5 and press enter. Then I hit the up arrow and I also add the 200 network because it's right here and I travel to the left, which is through this interface dot 5. Okay, so this looks actually good. Now, let's take a look and see what else needs to be actually done. Oh, watch this. This is perfect. Okay, very good. This is what we need to do on this actual router itself. I added whatever I'm actually missing. Nothing else needs to be actually what? Added to the list. So I'm going to go ahead and what? Do WR. There we go. Okay, what do I do on New York? And what do I do on actual what? California. What's done there, right? Guess what? Am I going to be doing static routing on New York and California? No, I'm not going to be doing static routing. Guess what? I'm going to be doing something called a default route. Why am I going to be doing a default route? Well, guess what? California and New York are called a stub routers. Stub routers. What does stub mean? So New York is a stub and California is an actual stub router, which means it only has one interface to travel, which means going this way. New York is a stub router because it can only travel this way. You see that? Illinois is not a stub router because Illinois has more than one way, this way and that way. So what I could do right now is I don't need to do a static routing on California or New York. I could do a default route. Guess what? If I go to this machine, this is still actually timing out. It's not reaching. So how do I do a default route? So static routing is done here, but I could do a default route here and a default route right over here. So if I go to New York Watch this. Global configuration mode, IP route, space 0000 space what? What is the neighbor's IP? Oh, this is 5. This one is 6. So 210, 210, 210.6, and press enter. That's it. I don't need to go to New York and add the 30 and the 211 and the 10 and the 20 manually. I could just do a default route because Illinois knows about everybody right now. California, same thing. Default route, IP route 0000 space 0000 space what? What interface does it travel? If it goes to the left because it's a stub router, if it's a stub router, I could do a default route. What's the IP of this? 17. So I'm going to put what? 211, 211, 211.17 and press enter. And guess what? I'm done. Now I should see communication happening immediately. Watch this. I should be getting an actual reply because I did the default route on the stub routers. Let's take a look and see. Let's give it a few seconds. It should take effect immediately. If it's not, we'll go ahead and start troubleshooting and see what's happening. So this one is not getting a reply. We'll see. This is good that it's not happening from the beginning. Let me go back to Illinois and take a look and see if I'm missing something on Illinois. In Illinois. Am I missing something on Illinois? Can you guys figure out what I'm actually missing? Okay, I did the default route here. I did the default route here. Okay, Illinois should know about everybody. Does Illinois know about everybody? Okay, do show run. Can you guys see what's actually missing? I have the 100 and the 200. Where is the 10 and the 20? Okay, good. So I'm going to go back over here. And this time I'm going to do IP route. And this time, look, this one is still failing, just to show you. And I'm going to go to this side and I'm going to be adding the 10 and the 20 via this neighbor. Very good. 192.168.10.0 space 255, 255, 255.0 space what? 211, 211, right? Dot 211 dot what? 18 and enter. And I'm going to do the same thing for the what, folks? The 20 network. And guess what? Now it's going to work. If it doesn't work, it means something is wrong with society. Watch this. Let's take a look and see. Now, this time it should be actually, there you go. I'm getting a reply. I could reach from one side of the world to the other from here to here. So if I put a ping packet from here to here, it should be successful. If I try to reach from here to here, it should be successful. If I go to this machine and I say command prompt and I do tracer 192.168 10.100, it's going through 100. These are the paths, hops. It's going through my router. Then it's going through 210, 210, 210 dot what? 6. Okay. And then it's going through what? 18. So it's reaching here, then here, then here, then it reaches there. You see that? This is amazing. So if I go to Illinois and I do show IP route, show IP route. I could see all the static entries. Everything looks good. Some of them are going via 18, some of them are going through 5. If I do show run, I could still see all of them in the list over here. If I go to New York and I take a look, I just have to do a default route, show IP route. There you go, the default route via here. And look, it tells me gateway of last resort to any network. See that? And same thing on California. If I do a show IP route, and it tells me I could reach any network via what? 17. I mean, who is 17? It's this one right over here. As long as Illinois is configured, then I could do a default route here and a default route here. Remember, we left something on purpose for troubleshooting, which means I added this side, but I never added this side. So this looks perfect. So I did static routing on Illinois and default routes on New York and California. Now everybody can talk to everybody. That's what I wanted to show you. So remember, this is a stub router. California, New York are stub routers. You do a default route because there's only one way of communication. Illinois, you have to do static routing because you go through the right and you go through the left. That's what I want to show you in this lecture. Now, our next lecture, we're going to still look at static routing, but we're going to talk about floating routes. What is a floating route? So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to still look at static routing, but we're going to look at what is a floating route. and I'm going to have five actual routers. Watch this. So I'm going to get myself a few routers. Here's one, here's two, three, four, five. And you'll see why I'm actually doing this. Let's call these the following states. Let's say New York, NJ, PA, Delaware, and Maryland. So I have five actual routers. So I'm going to put this router down here, and I got these right over here. And you'll see why do I have this actual setup. And I'm going to put some switches. Let's say I'll just have one switch on this side and one switch on this side. All right. And let me put a laptop over here, and we'll just put a server right over here. Let me make my actual connections. So of course, let me just connect from the router to the router, which is a crossover cable, right? So I'm going to go from gigabit, let's say 00 to gigabit 00, gigabit 01 to gigabit 01, gigabit 02 to gigabit 02, and let's say gigabit 00 to gigabit 00. And then I'm going to make a connection from New York to Maryland, let's say gigabit 01 to gigabit 01, just like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect the cables from the router to the switch. This goes to gigabit 02, and this goes to gigabit 02. Laptop hooks up to the switch, and the server hooks up to the switch. And you'll see why do I have this actual setup. And let me just maneuver so I have a better understanding of my topology. And let me put the networks. Let's say this one is 210, 210. Of course, public IPs, right? Slash 30. And let's say this one is 211, 211, 211.0 slash 30. And then this one over here is what? 212, 212, 212.0 slash 30. And this one is 213, 213, 213.0 slash 30. And this one is 214.214.214.0 slash 30. So I have these actual networks in the list, and I got this one right over here. And of course, I have private networks here. This is 192.168, let's say 100.0 slash 24. And I got this one as 200.0 slash 24. Let's say I forgot where the port labels are. So I go to preferences and I say show port labels, and I can see the port labels. Okay, very good. Let me go to New York and change the host name over here. So I'm going to say global configuration mode. Host name is NY interface. Let's say gigabit 0 slash 2 no shut. Turn the interface on and give it an IP address as 100.254. Space the default mask. And then I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0 slash 0, which is hooked up to New Jersey. No shut, right? And IP address is 210.210.210.1, 255, 255, 255.252. Then interface gigabit 0 slash 1, which is what network? That's going to be 214, which is going to be dot 2. So I'm going to do IP address 214.214.214.2 space 255.255.255.252. And I'm going to do a no shut on it. So of course I have to do the other router for the interface to be actually up and running. And I'm going to go ahead and do WR. So I'm done actually with New York. Let me go to New Jersey and configure my IPs. So let me just change the actual host name first, right? So global configuration mode, host name to NJ, and I'm going to go to interface gigabit 0 slash 1, and I'm going to do a no shut and give it an IP address as what? 211 dot what? Dot 1, all right? 255, 255, 255.252. And of course, no shut. Then interface gigabit 0 slash 0, and I'm going to do a no shut and give it an IP address as what? 210.210.210.2 space 255.255.255.252. And now the interface is up. Okay, do WR. All right, good. I'm going to go to my next one, which is Pennsylvania, and go ahead. And of course, I'm not using the setup mode. Let me just go ahead and move this up over here, right? So let's go ahead and change this to PA. Host name is PA. Interface gigabit 0/1, no shut, right? And IP address is what? 211.211.211.2 space 255.255.252. And then I'm going to go to gigabit 0/2 and do no shut, right? And IP address is what? 212.212.212.2 space 255.255.255.252. And of course, I did a no shut on it, and I'm going to do WR. I'm just putting IPs, folks, right now. Then I'm going to go to Delaware and give this its corresponding IP addresses. So I have global configuration mode, host name is Delaware, and interface gigabit 0/2. All right, no shut. And I'm going to give it an IP address as what? 212.212.212.255.255.255.252. And then interface gigabit 0/0. I'm going to do a no shut. And I'm going to do IP address is what? 213.213.213.1, 255.255.255.252, right? Just like this. And do WR. Let me save my configuration. Then I'm going to go to Maryland. This has three interfaces, all right? So let me go ahead and change the host name. Host name is Maryland. And interface gigabit 0/0. Maryland will be 213.213.213.2, 213, 213, 213.2, 255, 255, 255.252, and gigabit 0/1, right? No shut. Everything's going to be up and running right now. IP address is 214.214.214.1, 255.255.255.252. Very good. And then interface gigabit 0/2, no shut. And IP address is what? This one is on which network? 200, right? So this is the 200 network. 192.168.200.254 space 255.255.255.0 and do WR. So now I actually saved all the configuration. I have all the IPs configured. Everything is green. This laptop will be, let's say, 100, not 100. All right. And what is the default gateway? 100.254. Then close and close. The server will be 200.100. So 192.168.200.100. And the gateway is 200.254, just like this. So I have everything up and running. What does this mean? Well, this laptop wants to talk to this server over here. So it could go through New York to New Jersey to Pennsylvania to Delaware to Maryland, and then it could reach. Oh, I have red over here. Nobody said anything. Let's see what's going on over here. I did a no shut on gigabit 00. Maryland, did I do a no shut on gigabit 00? I did not. And nobody said anything. Okay, well, anyway, let's go ahead and do the following gigabit 00 and no shut. Now I'm back in business. Do WR. So this looks good. So back to what we're talking about. This laptop needs to reach the server. So I could go through New York, Maryland, and it reaches, or it could go through NJ, PA, Delaware, and reaches here. If it's going to take this route, every time it passes through a router, it's called a hop. One hop, two hops, three hops, four hops, five hops, and it reaches. Let me get rid of the interfaces so it's actually neat and clean. Okay, so I'm going to do static routing, but I'm going to talk about something called administrative distance, which is the metric itself. I never did the metric. The metric for static routes is one. For connected is zero. The lower, the better. That's what takes effect in the routing table. That's considered the administrative distance. Okay, I'm going to do static routing everywhere. It's going to take us a while, but it's actually what worth it. Watch this, folks. So if I go ahead and I do show IP route connected, I can see I'm connected to the 100, to the 210, and the 214. The server is what? 200.100. Okay, so command prompt, and I say ping minus T 200.100, right? So 200.100 and enter. So now it's actually what? Unreachable because there's nothing going on from the laptop to the actual what? To the server, right? So now what I want to do is New York supports these three networks. So I need to add the 211, the 212, and the 213, and the 200. A lot of work, but it's worth it, folks. Watch this. IP route, space what? I'm missing which network? The 211. Okay, very good. 211, 211, 211.0 space. What is the mask? 252. Space. What is the neighbor that I go through? If I'm in New York and I want to reach the 211, which one is better? Moving to the right or going this way? If I move to the right, that's one hop. If I go this way, one, two, three hops. So it's better for me to reach it this way. What is my neighbor's IP? 210.210.2. So 210.210.2. Space question mark. I'm going to put the metric. The administrative distance for static routes by default is 1. I'm going to give this the number 10, and you'll see why I chose 10. I'm going to press enter. Okay, very good. That's a 211. What about the 212? Should I go this way? Okay, where's the 212? Who supports the 212? PA and Delaware. If I go this way, that's 1, 2 hops. If I go this way, this is 1, 2. So it's actually the same. But I'm going to say if I go this way, let's say it's actually better. So I'm going to add it through the same way. So I'm going to do IP route 212 dot 212 dot 212 dot 0 space 255 255 255 dot 252. Same thing. 210 210 210 dot what? Dot 2 space. The metric is 10. Okay, so I did that for the 211 and the 212. Okay, now how about this? How about the 213? It's better going this way. One hop, going through whose neighbor? It says 214, 214, 214.1. So when I want to get to the 213, it's better going this way because it's only one hop. Every time you pass through a router is an actual hop. So IP route, right? So I'm going to add the network in 213, 213, 213.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space what? My neighbor's IP address here, which is what? 214, 214, 214.1. So I got 214.214.214.1 space. The metric is what? 10. Same thing. For the 200, I do the same thing. IP route 192.168.200.0 space 255. This is the default mask. Space what? Same thing. 214, 214, 214.1 space 10. I just finished configuring static routing for only New York. I didn't do floating routes. What is a floating route? The backup plan. In case the main one doesn't work, can you take the backup plan? First, I want to do static routes everywhere using the best. So do WR. Minimize this. Going to New Jersey. New Jersey has the 210 and the 211, right? So watch this. Show IP route connected. 210 to 11. I need the 100. So I travel down here, which is through 210, 210, 210. At what? 1. So global configuration mode, IP route, space what? 192.168.100.0 space 255, 255, 255.0 space what? 210, 210, 210.1 space the metric, which is the distance. I'm putting it as 10. Okay, but the 214, just one hop going this way. If I go the other way, that's 1, 2, 3 hops. All right. So for the 214 network, I'm doing the same path. IP route 214, 214, 214.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space 210.210.210.1 space 10. Very good. Okay. How about if I'm actually New Jersey, I want to add the 212 and the 213. I mean, going this way, right? One to 212, it's better going this way. That's only one hop because Pennsylvania supports the what? The 212. What's the neighbor? 211, 211, 211.2. So I go back over here and I say IP route 212.212.212.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space. What is the interface that I go, which is this one right over here, and this one is what? 211, 211, 211 dot what? Dot 2. So 211 dot 211 dot 211 dot 2 space. The metric is 10. That's my administrative distance at the 212 nut because I'm here. Here's one hop. Okay. How about if I want to add the 213? If I move to the right, 1, 2 hops. Okay. How about down this way? I'm here, 1, 2 hops. I'm going to treat this way, better, even though it's like the same cost. Okay. The same metric. So for the 213, I'm also going through where? Through the same way as I went that one. So I'm going to say IP route 213 213, 213.0, 255, 255, 255.252, space 211, 211, 211.2, metric is 10. Okay, how about the 200? I'm over here. If I go one, two, three hops, I'm over here, one, two hops. So going down this way is better. So I'm going to take the other route just to show you how things work out for the 200 network. So IP route 200 network. 200.0 space 255.255.255.0 space what? The other way, which is 210.210.210.1 space the metric is 10. I'm done configuring this router. I'm just choosing the best path right now, the best actual route. That's what I'm looking for. I just finished what over here, folks? Just New Jersey. My next one is going to be what? Pennsylvania. So I'm going to go to Pennsylvania. Let's see. This lab takes a while to finish, but it's worth it. The more you do this, the more you get adjusted to it. Okay, what does Pennsylvania support? Show IP route connected. 211 and 212. Okay, but the 213 and the 200, if I'm over here, one hop, two hop for this one. Okay, so I'm going to say for the 213, my neighbor is 212, 212, 212.2. So global configuration mode, IP route, and I'm going to say what over here? 213.213.213.0, 255, 255, 255.252, space what? 212, 212, 212 dot what? Dot two. Space, the metric is what, folks? Okay. Invalid. Something is wrong. 212, 212.2. I'm in Pennsylvania and I'm adding the 213 and I'm putting this IP and it says it's wrong. Okay, something is wrong here. Let's take a look and see what's happening. Let me take a look and see Pennsylvania. 211, 211. Okay, I mistyped the IP address. You see this? This is something we have. So interface gigabit zero. Let me go back to options and fix this right now. Pro port label. So this is gigabit zero 2. This should be dot 1, and this should be dot 2. So gigabit zero 2, this one says what? 211, 212, 212, 212.2. I gave this one as dot 2 also, and nobody said anything. So I need to change the IP address. Okay, interface gigabit 0 slash 2. I could just overwrite it or just do no IP address first. Okay. Then I could do IP address, and this one is going to be what? 212.212.212.1 space 255, 255, 255.252. Okay, very good. Exit the up arrow twice. Let me see if I could do this. Remember, I'm trying to add which one? The 213 network through what? 212, 212, 212.2. Let's see if this time it works. Very good. It works. Okay, good troubleshooting. All right. So now what I want to do over here is I want to add the 200 in the same way because I'm here, one, two hops, which is the 192. Watch this, folks. IP route 192.168.200.0, 255, 255, 255.0. Same thing is going to go through 212, 212, 212.2. Space, the metric is what? 10. I want to get rid of something in Cisco. I just put a no in front of it, and I could just actually get rid of it. Okay, I'm over here. I added the 213 and this. How about the 214? Which way is better? If I'm here, one, two hops, right? If I'm over here, one, two hops, it's the same thing. So it doesn't really matter for the 214 also. I'm going to go through the same actual path, which is through what? Dot two. So IP route 214. 214.214.0 space 255, 255, 255 dot what? 252 space what? I'm going to go through the same way, which is 212.212.212.2 space. The metric is also 10. Okay, so I added which one? The 214. I'm in Pennsylvania. How about the 210 and the 100? It's better going this way. One hop. All right, this way is like longer. Okay, so this way is 211, 211, 211 dot what? Dot one. So IP route 210, 210, 210.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space what? 211.211.211.1 space the metric is 10. And I'm going to do the same thing for which one? For the 192.168 100.0 space 255, 255, 255.0 space same thing. I'm going through 211, 211.211.1 metric is 10. I'm actually done. I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? IP route 192.168.100.0 space what? I typed something wrong, folks. Over here it says invalid. Oh, okay, extra one. Okay, there we go. 211, 211 dot what? Dot one. enter. Very good. Do WR, Control C. Okay, I'm done with Pennsylvania. Next one is Delaware. Delaware supports these two networks. So if I want to get to the 200, I go through this interface, which is what? 213, 213, 213.2. All right, very good. Now I'm going to go to Delaware. I'm going to go to global configuration mode, IP route. So Delaware is going to be adding which network? The 200 first. 192.168, 200.0, space 255, 255, 255.0, space what? 213, 213, 213 dot what? This one is dot one, this one is dot two. So dot two space, the metric is what? 10. Okay, how about if I want to add the 214? If I'm over here, it's just one hop. So same thing for the 214, folks. IP route 214, 214, 214.0 space 255, 255, 255 dot 252. All right, let's not forget that. 213, 213, 213.2 space what? The metric is 10. Just like that. So I have the metric as 10. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So what I'm going to do next over here is I got the 214 and I'm actually in where? In Delaware. How about if I want to add the 100 and the 210? If I'm in Delaware, this is one, two hops. If I'm over here, one, two for the three hops for this one. So if I want to add the 100, it's better going the long way. I mean, this way over here, the same way, because this one is longer. One, two, three hops. This way, one, two hops. Okay. So Delaware, I'm going to be adding the 100 network too, right? So IP route space what? 192.168.100.0 space 255, 255, 255.0 space what? I'm going to be putting same thing 213, 213, 213.2 space. The metric is what? 10, just like this. So I have the metric as 10. So I'm going to go ahead and press what? Enter. So that's what I have over here. Now I'm going to be adding which one? The 100. How about the 210? Okay, which way? Well, going this way, one, two hops is better. But this way, one, two, it's the same thing. So you know what? For the 210 and for the 211, I'm going to travel to the left, which is through my 212, 212, 212 dot one. Okay, that's for the 210 and the 211. So IP route. So I'm going to add the 210. 210.210.0 space 255, 255, 255 dot 252 space what interface, which is 212, 212, 212.1. That's this number 212.212.212.1 space. The metric is what? 10. And also, I'm going to be adding which network? The 211 going this way. All right. Same thing. So IP route space what? 211.211.211.0, 255, 255, 255.252, space what? Same thing. I'm going through this way to the right, which is through which interface am I actually traveling, which is 212, 212, 212, what? One space. The metric is 10. Do WR. I'm done with Delaware. Last router. Sorry, it's a long video. I know. I'm going to go to Maryland and see what this actually does. So there we go. If I do show IP route connected, I can see what I'm connected to. So let's see. I want to add the missing ones. IP route. Now Maryland is what? It supports the 200, the 213, and the 214. How about the 211 and the 212? Going this way. Let's go going to the top. All right. What's this IP 213, 213, 213.1. So IP route, let's say for the 212.212.212.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space what over here? Now I'm going to say 213.213.213. What? Dot one space the metric is 10. And same thing, I'm going to do IP route space 211.211.211.0 space 255, 255, 255.252, right? Space what? Same thing. 213, 213, 213.1 space. The metric is 10. I just added the what? The 211 and the 212 on where? Maryland. What am I missing? Okay, I'm missing the 100 and the 210. It's better going this way, right? Which means what is this IP? 214, 214, 214.2. So I go back over here and look, this one command prompt, it's still unreachable because I didn't finish all of them. Once I finish, I'm going to get a reply. That means everything is good. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and do this. And that's where all the fun kicks in. IP route 210.210.210.0 space 255, 255, 255.252 space 214, 214, 214.2. Space, the metric is what? 10. And I'm going to do the same thing. Last one, folks. 100.0 space 255, 255, 255.0 space what? Same thing. 214, 214, 14.2 space. The metric is 10. And guess what? Right now, if I did all the work right, this one should be pinging. Come on, there you go. Do you see what just happened over here? Now it's pinging. I could reach from one side to another. This is perfect. If I'm over here and I want to trace to this machine over here, which is 100.100, let me open the command prompt and do tracert 192.168.100.100. Look at the path it takes. It goes through 200.254 and then it goes to 214. So it goes through here, then it goes to here. So this server is reaching this, taking this route. See that? That's the path that is taken because that's the metric. Look, if I go to New York and I take a look and see over here, show IP route. Look at my static routes. If I do show IP route space static, I can see my static routes. See the metric? I change it to 10. It tells me via which interfaces each one of them is connected with. You see that? I could go to each one and do the same exact thing, and all of them can actually talk. So if I put envelope over here, an envelope over here, successful, envelope here, successful. Maybe the first packet is going to fail, but then it's going to actually work. It looks like, let me see. It should be working. This is 211, 211, 211.2. Can I ping? Ping 211.211.211.2. There you go. It works. Okay. The first packet, sometimes it doesn't work. I could reach anywhere. If I do trace route 211.211.211.2, it tells me the path that it takes to reach a destination. I just showed you static routing. I didn't show you floating routes. In our next lecture, we will see how do we configure floating routes. And what is a floating route? All right. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. In this lecture, what I want to show you is what I actually did is I configured the floating routes. Now, what is a floating route? It's just the backup option. For example, watch this. If I go to New York, look what I just did. So when I do show IP route, watch this. Show IP route, right? I didn't want to do this at the beginning because it will actually confuse you. But watch this. I see the metric of 10. Remember I did 10? See that? So when I do, which means this is the best path. What I just did is when I do show run, look what I just did. I added the metric of 20. So I did the same commands in global configuration mode, just like this over here. But I gave it a what? A higher metric, which is the backup plan. That's what a floating route is. You configure the same network, but you take the longer path and you give it a higher metric, which is the higher administrative distance, which means those will use as a backup in case something goes wrong with one way, the other one will actually kick in. That's what I did from global configuration mode. You just add the command and that's how you get there. But when I do show IP route over here, I'm only seeing which ones. The best one, which is 10. Okay. So for example, if I go to Pennsylvania, look at this. It's just a lot of typing and watch this. So when I do show run, this time I also see the 10s and I added also the what? 20s. It's just the longer way. It's the reverse. Like, for example, if I look at the 213 going this way and I see the 213 again, I'm taking the longer way and I give it a metric of what? 20. I'm just reversing the networks. That's what I did on each router over here. And here's Delaware, same thing. That's what a floating static route is, which is a backup option. And I do show run and I see the same exact thing. See that? Just like this. So in case the one with a metric of 10 fails, the one with 20 will what? Will actually kick in. So that's one thing to actually know. That's what a floating static route is. Now, is this something that you would do? Probably most likely no. Static routing is not something you'll be actually configuring. Our main concern is about dynamic routing. That's what we're going to be looking into, which is dynamic routing. But as you see, this is a backup option. That's what a floating static route is. It's the same as that I did, but you take the longer path and you give it a metric, which is administrative distance of what? Of 20. For example, let's say Delaware. Look, if I go to Delaware here, and I do show one, right? Watch this. And I want to reach, let's say, the 200 network. Which way is it better for Delaware right now for the 200 network? For the 200 network, the best thing for Delaware is going which way? The metric of 10, which is 213, 213, 213.2, which means I'm going this way. So I'm Delaware. If I'm reaching the 200 network, I need to go through 213, 213, 213.2, right? I'm not going to go through 212, 212, 212.1, right? So I'm not going to go through 212, 212, 212.1. This is a metric of 20. Well, okay, how about this? If I do show IP route and I look for the 192 and say 200, it's going via 213, 213, 213.2, right? Going the best way, one hop. Okay, how about this? How about if I remove this cable over here and this crash is going to switch to the other one? Watch this. Look how this is going to. Okay, interface went down. For the 200 network, is going this way. Okay, how about if I do show IP route again? There you go. You see how it worked? Now 192.168.200 network, I'm taking the longer path. So my routing table gets updated automatically because it realized something went wrong through one interface. Let me go ahead and insert the floating route, the backup route, so I could reach that destination. That's what a floating static route is. So I'm just adding a backup option. So that's why I did a 10. So when I did the backup, I just do a what? A 20. That's basically what a floating static route is. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. In our next lecture, we're going to talk about our main goal, which is dynamic routing, and that's what corporations actually use. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now.